I mean, really, stop bragging.
Stop bragging, because I have more houses than that.
Stop bragging, I have 6.
Are you recording?
Are you recording?
Yeah.
Well, guys, although I love Lumi, I do not love sweating, so I just like to reapply a few times here and there.
I know, your phobia of sweating is real.
I don't like sweating.
I don't really sweat. So
I'm not a huge sweater. I'm really not, even when I
I'm
work
not
out.
either.
But when, on moist days, when it starts to get whatever, I'm like,
I hate that word.
like, I don't like this. Moist. So, 77 degrees today. Wow, I missed the memo. I need to wear shorts.
Do you want it to be cooler in here? I had it cooler and then I was like, oh, the girls are always cold.
It's great.
Okay.
Oh, let me try.
What is this?
It's
Sanitizer.
What are we sanitizing from?
I don't know, my hands
World?
life.
My studio?
No,
Is the goal today 6 podcasts?
I thought.
Yeah,
Bring it.
I'm bringing it.
Well, I think, I don't know if you guys heard my last.
Is this right?
Chin height? No.
Okay.
I think we should have a goal 20, 25, 30 minutes tops.
Okay.
Yep. So if
If we
means
need to do
that
part
we
2s, yeah, and that's great.
Which is great because that kills birds with stones.
Yes. Oh, my last thing was about Preston. I had said.
Oh
My
yeah,
vote is
he's
that we,
fine. He's not going anywhere. He's not
I know.
anxious about
And
it.
I was on your team on that.
You were on my team. I was like, I feel very much like.
And that's what I was saying. Like, I have until noon, and then I have to bust out so much stuff for the sweating, and then I have tomorrow, I have till noon, and then I have to get a dentist appointment because.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not worried about any of this. We'll stop at noon.
Shut off your Pelotons.
Whatever we've got, we get.
What a glorious week it's gonna be. Oh, rain on
It's
Saturday,
been
fabulous. And Sunday, fabulous.
Oh.
But other than that, the week's gonna be lovely. It's already a way better summer than it was last year.
Yes.
Yes, it's already been a better summer and it's only June 2nd.
Way better.
June 2nd? 3rd. What day is it?
Guys, I listened to your Emma's for Murder podcast.
Oh gosh. I won't listen.
Wasn't it?
It wasn't that bad. When you initiated, I was like, what is she doing? You're going so off grid of who we are. But I was like, it was entertaining.
I won't listen to it.
You won't?
No.
It's actually really good.
No, just because I.
Yeah, but you didn't go into a lot of detail.
No,
about
I
it.
did
But
not.
for me, it was just like, of all the topics in the whole wide world, Rachel's like, let's do true crime. I'm like, okay, they're going for it. But
I've just been listening to a lot of it. Okay, it's where my mind was at.
I was
Me being vulnerable.
It's harder than it
Being
looks.
vulnerable.
It makes me respect true crime podcast people a ton
Majorly.
because like I did one that was in my family, and it was like,
Yeah.
I couldn't go as deep as I could, but even I was like, who was in a courtroom for
Yeah.
2 weeks,
Yeah.
listening to testimony. I was like, wow, if you
The
did
research that needs to be
the
done.
research
Because
is
you want to
wild.
honor everyone
You
the
don't
right
wanna lie.
way. And you
Yeah.
don't want to lie
Yeah.
and make stuff up, which would be my tendency.
right. To make it, this is
She
not
killed
nearly as
50
exciting, so we're gonna revamp that.
Yeah. I'm going to just tick those numbers up a little bit.
tick, tick, tick.
Okay, she did.
She's actually a serial killer, but she really just killed one person.
Yeah. She just did eat a lot of cereal, though.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so who's going to go first in our mission?
I know
to
you guys don't
conquer
care, but
the
I always
world?
like to think about like where you left off. What's today's
With
podcast?
your
On
long
what?
Well, that
you.
doesn't matter because we don't want to just do like me. On
That's
all
what
the
I'm saying.
things.
That's why I think it should go. Like if it left off with me, I don't think it should start with me. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, well, I kind of mix them up anyway.
No, you don't. You do it in order.
I do actually. Lately, I have been a little bit
Okay.
because I
Okay,
put
pumpkin.
yours way last.
Oh, so that
Oh,
you
that's
could
right.
be
Okay.
the other one
I
this year.
shut that way up.
What did I talk about?
Your
Thermography.
That was today's.
Oh, yeah.
That came out today.
Then I still
Thermogram.
thermography. Then I don't think we should.
So,
I don't think we should start with me, just in
Okay.
case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to go. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
You want
Rock,
to get
paper,
it
scissors,
off your
shoot?
chest, as it were?
Are you a 2-part?
I am a 2 or 3.
Are you
or
a
who
2
knows
part?
what. I'm gonna just keep going into the sunset.
Okay.
I obey the rules.
Do we do 2 parts in a row, or do we not? Do we mix it up?
I think it depends what it is. Why don't you go?
Okay.
That way, if you have to
If I-
relax for a little bit, then you can enjoy.
Am I rocking? Am I rocking?
You are
Am I
already rocking.
All right.
I don't even know what your topic is.
Oh, okay. Well,
Exciting.
I'm thinking it's gonna be trigger words.
yes,
Oh yeah,
Good point.
and the word trigger.
yes.
Okay.
So I am. Hi. So I'm going to start doing another definition of what a real word means that we sometimes overuse or misuse. So last time I did
gaslighting.
gaslighting.
Guessing, yes.
And this time I'm using the word trigger. That's a trigger. It was the most used word in 2023, and I am not surprised by that.
Already in 24, I bet.
Oh,
Although
gosh.
people, I think, are getting like...
They're triggered by their triggers?
Yes.
Okay, it was
They-
the most used word. No kidding.
Yes.
What
So,
happens, it turns into a joke.
and that
Yes.
is why I don't like it, and that's why we're going to discuss what it really means.
Yeah,
Because
I
when
like
you
that.
understand what it really means,
Mhm.
it's very
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
So hold on, I gotta get my phone because I have to read something.
Kevin doesn't use the word triggered. He uses it's a Kevinism, which I can't try to think. Supercharged.
Well, we're gonna
Which
talk
I
about.
kind of love.
I love that, and I have another
He's
friend.
like, this is making me a little supercharged.
Yes.
Which always makes me laugh a little bit. But I like that instead of triggered. And he's
I
like,
agree.
I know I'm supercharged here. Like, so he recognizes if he is. And
That I
when he is.
love that. My
Yeah.
other friend uses the word activate. That just
Activate.
activated me. Like
Yeah.
I
I just
don't.
always say I'm getting anxiety.
Yes.
But
this
that-
is giving me anxiety.
But I feel like that's kind of broad too, probably.
It's
Different
broad, but
things.
that's how it affects me. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter really what it is. It could be anger. It could be fear.
When she did her 72-hour fast, talking to me gave her anxiety.
No, it was
She's like, well, I just had a cortisol dump. I gotta go. I'm glad I could do that for you.
No, I think it's because I had sat down and let my heart beat slow for
Yeah.
the first time, and I didn't realize that I was supposed to be resting while I was 72 hours fasting.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
All right, back to me, guys.
Sorry,
Focus
yes.
on who's
Sorry.
important.
Yep.
That would be me.
Yes.
All right, so trigger was the most used word. People say it all the time. That's triggering me. Blah, blah, blah. Sometimes people on podcasts will say trigger warning. So trigger warning in a podcast is actually using it in an appropriate way. So I thought I'd give the definition. To release or activate by means of a trigger, that's the gunshot. Like when you pull a trigger, you set something into motion that you can't stop. That's the point of trigger. You set something into motion that you can't stop. Like you can't pull a trigger on a gun and then go, I changed my mind, and like take it back.
Go catch the bullet.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Superman.
Unless you're to release or activate by means of trigger. So that's the same kind of thing, different thing, but to release something like a bomb or something, same thing. You push that red button that's in the Oval Office and the nukes go. Like you can't unpush the red button, okay? To cause an explosion, to initiate or activate. Okay, so that's all what this is. And then the one really used in mental health is to cause intense or usually negative emotional reaction to something. So we use it, people, it's been overused in the sense of anything that irritates or annoys you or makes you start feeling grumpy or you have any sort of negative response to. That is not trigger. So I'm actually going to talk a little bit of what...
Guilty.
Yes. And it's fine. It's not like you're doing something wrong. It's just important to know. So what a true trigger is it is an emotional response due to trauma. And so triggers are anything that might cause a person to recall a traumatic experience that they've had. For example, a graphic image of violence can be a trigger for someone. Less obvious things include songs, odors, even colors can also be triggers depending on someone's experience.
My watch, I don't know.
A trigger warning is simply a way of letting people know that certain things they're about to consume. So like a lot of times in podcasts, they'll say, trigger warning, we're talking about...
It's like the warning before a movie.
Yes, it's the same kind of thing, but it's about that they're going to be talking about specific events that might trigger somebody else's trauma. So triggers aren't anything new, but the concept of them started popping up more and more in casual conversation and mainstream media, leading to confusion and debate on the topic. It is a very real experience. I struggle from triggers, it will put me into a panic attack, but I have a friend who I'm going to be super vague for her anonymity that was anonymity. She was horribly raped, and so certain things, when she was going through her trauma therapy, certain things would actually, and it was smells, songs, things, she would actually think she was in that situation again, and she would have very bad panic attacks. And it was awful, and we actually had to learn how to help her come out of it so that she could realize that she was not back in time, because in her mind and her body she thought she was back at that trauma. So that's a real trigger.
Yeah.
Not
That's the difference.
not someone just annoying you or making you feel grumpy.
Well, a trigger warning is out of respect.
Yes.
It's like,
and those are great.
We don't want you to, if you don't think you can handle this, then fast forward or
Skip it.
so that
or,
it
yeah,
doesn't
cause
trigger
that.
kind of
Yes.
emotion.
So, but I mean, people saying, ew, that's such a trigger, or that person's triggering, or that is just being so overused. In mental health terms, a trigger refers to something that affects your emotional state, often significantly, by causing extreme overwhelm or distress. A trigger affects your ability to remain present in the moment, and it may bring up specific thought patterns and influence your behavior, much like my friend. Triggers vary widely and could be internal or external. Specific phrases, odors, sounds can be triggers for people who have had such events as rape, military conflict, physical assault, emotional abuse, loss of a loved one. Sometimes people, when right after they've had something like that happen, songs and smells can make them get super duper emotionally distressed because they remember it smells like their grandpa or their mom or their spouse. It can cause a lot of that. So substance use disorders often involve triggers too. Many people find it helpful to learn their triggers so that they can recognize them and choose either to avoid them or come up with a plan of dealing with them. So this is part of the process of learning if you have post-traumatic stress disorder. So triggers are usually synonymous with that. And so I was telling you guys that my therapist has been working on a diagnosis with me, and I'm being officially diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Surprise.
Jeez, you just rolled that into the
Yes.
Is that what you thought?
unceremonious.
You thought you were gonna be able to diagnose her?
You thought you knew what I was going to have? You thought I was going to be a narcissist.
No.
Levity,
on the
people.
radar.
No, I don't think I really knew. I was kind of
Yeah,
excited
so
to just
she
keep
was,
it.
yeah, so she's been working on with me to get that official diagnosis. So because of my childhood and a lot of the things that have happened to me in my childhood, and because of who raised me, I have been diagnosed with PTSD, or in the process of. And so what that means is that how my brain responds to different stimuli because of PTSD changes. And so I'm going to do a whole other podcast on what post-traumatic stress disorder is, and
Because that's different than just like
anxiety.
this event. Like, for example, I get really sick when I ran a marathon years ago. And so in the middle of the marathon. And so for many, many months, I didn't run at all. Because I was like, I have like literally, like I used that where I was like, I have PTSD. Like a friend asked if I'd run a half with her 3 months later. I was like, you know what? I just can't. I can't right now. I need a little bit more time.
Yeah.
But that was for one event.
Right.
That's not like
Right.
the label of who.
Right, but what that did was that was an extremely emotional event to you, and so you were triggered by it. So so it wasn't something that you couldn't resolve. That's the thing. Like, you can learn, and that's going to be my second podcast on how to help yourself with triggers and help other people with triggers, more importantly.
But I'm saying that's different than what she's done.
Right, so with me,
because it was your life.
yes, because I had such an extensive amount of abuse, and because my world was so significantly manipulated by the fact of how I was raised by someone that I can't diagnose because I'm not a therapist, but we have lots of different ideas of what the diagnosis was. But definitely a personality disorder. It shaped the way my brain receives information. So like even today, I was telling the girls, I'm super anxious because we just got back from this amazing trip. It was wonderful. And I was in this beautiful bubble, but now I'm out of the beautiful bubble of vacation, and I feel like a whirlwind on me because I don't know how to process lots of information. So even Peter and I were taking a walk, and he's like, you are so triggered right now. And I was like, you're right, I am. He's like, are you, he was trying to help me. I'm not mad at anyone. It's not, I'm triggered at a point. What it is that I have all these things, stimulus on me, and I was never taught how to process information for myself. I was learned to process information for other people to make them all feel safe and cozy and to walk on the eggshells. So I don't understand. My brain just works differently. And as I'm learning that,
Similar.
yeah.
It's the, at least what I'm hearing and what it's for me, the whole, when something is triggering, the actual post-traumatic stress, or for me, it was like a chronic anxiety disorder induced by chronic stress from a sustained period of time of stress from my whole childhood. So the staying present, that is really hard for me when I'm feeling overstimulated or all of a sudden anxious about something. It's hard for me to stay in the present. I feel like I have to take deep breaths and kind of be like, you're okay. You're okay.
Yes.
This is not the end of the world. You can do this in this amount of time. Time block that out. Put this over here.
Yeah.
But I have to, this is literally how I have to talk to myself in my head.
Right.
I have to, and I might have to do that multiple times or for as long as it lasts. Sometimes I have to do it while I'm doing my block breathing because my body is starting to have a physical reaction to my mental reaction. And so, and also what I'm hearing is when you and I and people like us take vacations or we take a break from anything that's more stressful like normal life,
right?
When we come back to it, there can be an episode of anxiety because there's now a stacked up. It's like you haven't kept all the balls juggling. For any mom, every mom would know what this is like. If you take any sort of a break,
it's so much more work.
You're
it's so much work to take a break.
Yeah, the balls.
It was worth the break.
Yeah,
it's worth the break. But just know that when you come back, you're gonna have to start juggling those balls a little bit faster before you can slow down and back.
Or you don't know how to. You don't know how. Like, so for me, I lived in severe chaos. So my childhood was always 0 or 100. There was no peace. So I was either catatonic disassociated or I was under super hyper alert. And so what was really helpful for me was when we were walking, Peter was able to say, here's 3 things that we can do today. And if we do them, it's a successful day.
Yeah.
And so, because for me, all of it is now a 10. Everything's a 10. There's all 10s, 10s everywhere.
And you want it done yesterday.
Well, and some of those things are actually a 3. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, there are 3. But my brain doesn't know how to prioritize. I can't prioritize.
Or like Elizabeth Elliot, she always says, do the next right thing.
Yes.
And so you're like,
they're all right things.
Yeah.
And there's 1,000 of them. And I can't, and I only have 2 hands.
Yeah. I have that same problem often.
Yeah. So that's when I'm being triggered. My anxiety, my mental state is being brought back. It also happens a lot with, I can get really triggered by any sort of time where I feel unsafe. So like, I always joke that there's a reason why I married the husband that I married. Like, he's this giant man. He's big. He's burly. He looks incredibly intimidating. That's not a coincidence.
He's your own
bodyguard.
Yeah.
I bought and paid for this giant human. Yeah. And so I often tell him that's not a coincidence. When he hugs me, he literally engulfs me. Like I can actually disappear in him when he gives me a hug. That's not a coincidence. So I think that my body and my mind knew that I need something that's bigger and safer so that I can turn off parts of my brain and do that. And so anyway, so that is what triggering is. That's the actual true definition. It's when your body actually cannot stay present and it goes somewhere else. And so it's not being annoyed, it's not being grumpy. So but those things are valid as well. So I did think it would be fun to think of some other words, or I researched some other words that you can use instead of the word trigger.
That are more appropriate to the situation.
That are more appropriate to the situation, so that we could change and honor that word.
All right, well, I shared supercharged.
I love supercharged. Supercharged might be mine.
So funny.
But I love it because it's saying I'm feeling bigger feelings. So one was set off. This is setting me off. This is setting me off. this situation, I'm feeling set off.
Yeah.
You're not triggered because you can stay present, but you're elevated. Activated. I said that's what one of my friends use. I love it. Activated. This is activating me. Like, I'm getting heated.
Cheer.
Activate. Let's go, girls. Let's activate.
Except what you really want is to deactivate.
So this is causing me stress. This is like this is causing me anxiety. Like what you say. This is cause. Using the word cause. This situation is causing me
to want to throat punch you. Does that
yes.
in there?
Well, I tell my boys sometimes when they're fighting and bringing it into our space, like where I'm making dinner, and they're all of a sudden they're like literally there, and 2 minutes ago I was peacefully making dinner.
Right.
Guys, boys, okay, this is giving me anxiety. I need you guys to go. Take this outside. Do whatever you gotta do. Figure it out. Please stop.
Kill each other outside.
Please stop. Like, let's figure this out. You're both almost grown-ups enough to know. You know what you have to do. This is giving mommy anxiety. And that's a little example, but like verbalizing how it's making me feel does help.
Yes.
Because I don't just yell at them. I'm just like, hey, stop it. I'm saying, guys, this is giving mommy anxiety.
Yeah, this is causing stress.
This is making me stressed. Yeah.
Generate. I thought that was funny. I was like,
generate.
This is generating me.
This is generating stress.
Generating stress.
That's rising.
This is generating me to throat punch you. Some of them are silly. This is producing or prompting me to feel anxious. This is producing. Same thing. It's just explaining that you're not being triggered. Triggered is that setting into motion and that you can't reel back. When I'm actually triggered, it takes a lot. I become catatonic. I shut down. And so it's hard for me to reel that back in.
I think it's so good to teach even our kids, like, the proper use of terminology. And, like, this is what this, even, like, swear words. Like, when Jesse was really little, he's like, I love the D word. And I was like, well, get it out of your system. He was like 3, But I was like, do you know what that literally means if you say to someone, damn you? It literally means that you're damning their soul to hell. So when you really think about what it really means, or even the F word, that's like violent rape.
Yes.
Like, do we really want that word in our vocabulary when we really know what it means?
Yes.
And we're all like smart, intellectual adults. Like, I think we could use different adjectives.
Yes. And that's a really important. I was talking to a friend yesterday and we were kind of talking about this. And again, I truly believe healing comes from verbalization of saying what your feelings is and be that vulnerability of crossing past, taking the risk of telling someone this is causing me anxiety instead of just responding in anger or yelling, or because what it does is it actually in your brain, when you go through trauma therapy, that's what that does. It reroutes in your brain what's going on. And it also allows the person who has hard times or whatever, or who generally loves you or maybe even doesn't like you, but you can speak to them. And there's something about face-to-face communication that shields gently come down a lot more. You know what I mean? So like being able to say, you know what, when you say this, it causes me to feel this way. But when we start using words like, you're so triggering, or that triggered me, or no, don't trigger me. What you're doing is you're trying to shut down the conversation. It's actually very unvulnerable because you're taking a word, because what you're truly saying, if you say, that triggers me, you're saying, that's sending me someplace into motion where I can't come back from. And unless you really are, if that's really is, it's very minimizing of what's happening. You're just saying, what I hear you say when you say, that triggers me, and you're not really triggered, is you're not worth the conversation. I'm stopping this conversation. And that's actually not how to help someone who's triggered. And a person who can actually be triggered, that minimizes what happens when your body actually disassociates. Like when my friend was triggered, she truly felt like she was being raped again. That is huge. And it was terrifying to watch her have these triggers happen to her. And that is not
We minimize what it really means.
What we minimize what is actually happening to a person when that happens. So, you know, anyway, that's all I want to say.
It's good.
Trigger word of the year 2023, most used inappropriately.
Pick a new one.
Pick a new one. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
That was good. How long was that?
Amy plus
24
plus.
Okay,
minutes.
that's so
Amy
good.
plus
Amy
plus.
plus. That was good. Do you want me to shut that off?
Wonderful. Yes, please. That would be very helpful.
Okay.
Else, I do have a goal to get new chairs, but I don't know when because
I want new chairs for my outside.